This week I've got something kind of a little different. First off, so quadlab.io, we are doing kind of a promotion and we're offering the Rapid Fire, the Immersion RC Rapid Fire, for a discounted price. We don't know how much it's going to be discounted. We don't even know how much the retail price is going to be, and I'm going to talk more about it in the future. But if you know what the Rapid Fire product is, you're more than welcome to pre-order it on our site, and it's a very limited supply. I'm not trying to market or do anything. This is really just beneficial for the community and people that want this product anyways. And the goal is to stimulate the product and get it out into the hands of the early adopters so they can talk about it and, you know, make it more advantageous for all retailers in the space. Retailers are not our enemies. We love all retailers and we don't want to make enemies with any of them. And this is only done as a promotion. Before I talk about anything quad related, I'm going to take you guys on a trip down memory lane. So with these glasses, which are binocular glasses, quad with a headlight, somebody posted something in the description that was speaking exactly my language, that was just tied exactly into my past. I got a bunch of little Cree chips and the star LEDs. People that do flashlights are very familiar with these things. Move on from this now. If you watched it all, thank you so much. But next things. So these are the Eachine, God knows what, I don't even know what they are, but I have some interesting stuff to say about them. But first, I'll show you the box, because the box is actually very nice. Here's the thing about Eachine. They kind of do whatever they want, and they copy a lot of stuff, which I'm not really too crazy about, but they have a lot of potential. They can do really good stuff. So with that in mind, let's take a look at these goggles. So what they've done here is kind of interesting. It's supposedly has a 1080p screen in there, and I did route some computer video to them, and they actually do look 1080p. They're using a periscope method, and I have previously kind of designed goggles that use a periscope type method, but I haven't been able to find a screen suitable enough to use in my little scheme. So what they've done here is that the screen is up here, and then there's a mirror, and then it reflects into your eyes. And I think that in this case, they're just doing it to look original and kind of cool. And I'm going to show you them next to a pair of Fat Sharks. And when you look at them next to a pair of Fat Sharks, they're not that unreasonable. It's a pretty reasonable size. What I would say is unreasonable is the fact that the battery is built in and it's on top here, so it does make them a little bit heavy. And I'm going to go over this review pretty quickly because this is pretty much a non-useful product. And I say it's not useful because the lenses are not Fresnel lenses. They're actually lenses, as you might be able to see in my reflection there. But the problem is that when you look into them, the screen is just enormous. It's bigger than the head plays. It's just a massive screen, and you can't see the edges because you can't get your face in there far enough. And the worst part is that, so I have a limited knowledge of optometry, and when I put my head in these and I look at the screen, it's as if I am looking at an object that's 1 foot away from my face. So my eyes are focusing very, very, very close. That's really not healthy for your eyes. And I know we don't wear these things for like hours and hours on end, but it's still not healthy for you to just look at something 1 foot away from your face for long periods of time. So I don't really recommend this for a health reason because it could potentially be dangerous. I don't think China cares one bit about that. But let's talk about Eachine and Eachine products in general. So Eachine has this weird ability to make oddly good feeling quality products. This is one of those weirdly good feeling products. When I first took it out of the box, when I first opened the box, I was like, oh, this is actually really nice, this case. Even though it's like all plasticky and rubber and it's all garbage, it's still nice. It holds it very nicely. It's a nice compact size. It comes with all the stuff inside, which I don't even care to show you right now. You can watch other reviews for that. And then I took the thing out of the box and I'm like, oh, this is actually really sturdy. It's really sturdy. It's got it's got the soft touch plastic on it. It's got like a very, not fuzzy, but like rubbery-ish feel. And it's just a solid built product, and I really appreciate that. And I'm really surprised that Eachine, of all people, are able to do that, because a lot of companies that are much higher can't do that for some reason. The foam padding on this thing is way nicer than Fat Shark's foam padding. It's like, it's got this weird fabric over the top of it. It just feels really good on your face. But that's kind of where all the good parts end. The diversity inside is actually true diversity, which I opened it up and I checked on that. It actually is true diversity. It does have a channel scanner on there. It has a HDMI input, and it charges through this super duper tiny little port here, which you have to use a very special wire that comes with it. But yeah, that's kind of where it ends. It's unusable because of the health concern, and also this nose space is way too small for my nose. So if you have any kind of a nose, you cannot get your face into this thing. So for that matter, I would say it's not really useful, but I've emailed them and I've said, okay, look, I'm only in this industry to just help make things better for myself and for everybody else. I know a lot of times I upset retailers and upset other companies that are making stuff, but my only interest is to make things better for everybody. So these glasses that I use for dentistry, they are a couple $1,000 for the whole light and everything set up. I would say it's let's see, $4,000 for this setup that you're looking at here, and I use them every day. It's my professional. This pair of glasses, it's a nickel titanium alloy. It's got very high impact lenses. It has these binoculars in them that are very finely set for my eyes only. They are tailored just to my eyes with the light on top, and it all looks like a very clean package, and it's an expensive product. It's a professional product. There are people that use these as much or more than I use these. So why do we still have such garbage pairs of goggles? Like, we don't even have options of a good pair of goggles. You know, I'm pretty sure that people are willing to spend a little bit of money on something that they use so often, well, even if it's for fun. But there's people that really are flying 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. All right, but there's also a massive population of people that just want something that works and is pretty adequate and pretty good. And honestly, I would say that the Fat Sharks are kind of like the minimum usable product for this kind of space, because I do have very high standards. But I have come up with a whole bunch of other goggle schemes that I would love to implement if I could. One of those schemes is a periscope type system, which uses a prismatic lens to put one screen in a place with a prism that makes it look like the screen is farther away, and then puts a final objective lens. The problem with that is that you need a relatively small screen. You need about a 2-inch screen so that it doesn't look so enormous in your face. And this product, had they just used a small screen, it maybe would have been a little bit better, because the screen is just too big. Anyways, that's that product. I'm done with that. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm happy to share anything about this. I wouldn't recommend it. It's too expensive. Eachine does make one of the most popular box goggle products, which I do recommend actually for beginners, because it's like $50-$60, and it's a really surprisingly good product. But for anything beyond $50-$60, I only recommend Fat Sharks to this day, and there has been nothing that has come out so far that can even begin to compare against Fat Sharks. Yes, the Sky Zones are good, but without the ability to replace the receiver module, it's a no-go. It's a deal breaker for me, and I don't recommend it, because we have receivers like the Clearview and the Rapid Fire coming out, which are going to just, it's the new level of receiver, so everybody's going to want that. So the inability to swap out your receiver is just, it's a deal breaker. Another idea that I would like to test out on the Quad Lab website, which is, so back in the day, HQ had made their original 5x4x3 in the glass fiber material. I bet most of my followers don't even know what that is, but it was a very legendary prop because it lasted so long and it had the best flight performance overall. And it took a long time, it took years for props to come out that actually surpassed the performance of the original HQ 5x4x3, which was apparently kind of not developed by Chad Nowak, but tested and kind of refined by Chad Nowak with HQ Prop. And so I went to HQ Prop just yesterday and I said, oh, actually, Vince posted something online where he did some testing and he found that the stiffer props that he was using actually generated far more thrust than the more flimsy-ish kind of plastic polycarbonate props. And so I had this idea where, what if we started selling the glass fiber props again in the same design that are much stiffer, but for a much lower price? Because the biggest issue with those props was that if you looked at them in the wrong way, they would just crack off, like all the blades would crack off. You touched a blade of grass, they would explode on you. But they did have the best flight feel, they did have the best flight performance. So I talked to HQ and Azure Prop actually, and they're going to try making some prototypes, not prototypes, they're just going to shoot some glass fiber into the mold or see if their mold can do it, and test it and see if there's actually a difference in performance today still with these new molds and these new kinds of props. And my thought is to sell them for much, much less because they are just so easy to break. And really, I would only recommend for acropilots, but it's an interesting thought, interesting idea. What if the old prop materials are the new kind of prop today? And it would only really work today because there are now a population of pilots that are actually good at flying, like actually reasonably very good at flying, and they are looking for the best performance, and they do feel these minor differences from prop to prop and different materials and just different setups and PID tuning of 1 or 2 numbers. I'm definitely not one of those, but there are a lot of people out there that are, so this might be beneficial for them. And lastly, I'm going to go over that I'm going to do a little trick tutorial of this one move which I am calling the inverted orbit. I think Ladrib came up with the idea, the trippy spin, which is where you kind of orbit around a tree or an object that's very tall, upside down, inverted, looking up at the object. And what's literally happening is, so I'm going to go through this really quickly. I don't know if it's going to be super helpful, but it'll kind of get you started and get your mind thinking. If you guys want more kind of trick videos like this, I've done them in the past. Just let me know what kind of a trick you want me to do, and I'll put that together, although I have very few flying quads at the moment because I just lost one in a tree. Anyways, okay, so that trippy spin. So what you're actually doing is you have an object in the middle, a very tall object, and you're going around the object just like you would orbit yourself. You know, you go around yourself like this. You're orbiting the object inverted. You're just same movement, just inverted. There are 2 main entrances to the move. One of them is just an inverted float into it, but I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to go over the much easier method to enter the move. It's much more reliable, and if you want more details, definitely tell me. I'll do this tutorial again. You kind of come into the move, and then as you're going under the object, you have to have a tall object or else you cannot see where you're going or what you're doing. You tip back, and then you roll right to start going around the object. Of course, I'm only going to show you at one direction right now, but you tip back and now you're under the tree or under the object. You roll right slightly to get going around the tree, and then you start rolling to the left. So let's break down the movement of the quad itself. So now you're looking up at the tree and you're at this angle, and let's say that you want to go 90 degrees around the tree. So 90 degrees around the tree is pretty much over here, but let's do that motion. So at the location which you will be 90 degrees around the tree, you're going to need to have rolled left 90 degrees. So let's do that. And the problem with this is that look at the camera angle right now and look at the orientation of the quad. So remember, this is the object. We're trying to go around it just 90 degrees, and we started like this, and we need to end up like this. But right now we're only going to roll 90 degrees to the left, which is only half of the movement that you need to do. And if you look at this, I'm going to rotate it here for you. Look at the orientation of the quad. It's pointing this way. The camera's pointing this way. So in addition to the roll 90 degrees to the left, you will need to yaw 90 degrees to the right. So now you kind of get this idea that, okay, well, it's kind of cross-coordinated, which is how we do these camera-centered rolls anyways. This is kind of a higher level skill. I really wouldn't recommend you doing this in a closed environment or a small environment. It has to be a really wide open environment, or else you could really hurt yourself or just break your quad. So just be mindful of that. But now if you understood that, you kind of realize that, okay, so I have to manage the yaw and the roll counterintuitively to themselves. So as you come into the move, you go in, you're going, you pull back a little bit, you pitch back, and then you roll right just a little bit to get you started going around the object. And then once you come around the object, you start rolling left, but then you also need to yaw right at the same time to pull your camera back forward right in the middle. So as you're going, you roll right, and then you roll left just a little bit, and then you start giving it a little more gas, and then you have to yaw right as well to manage it. And you just balance these two as you're going around the tree. And that's why it takes a couple of rotations to get it really solid and clean. But then once you balance them in just the right place, you can just keep going faster and faster and faster. And it's actually a lot of fun. It's really exhilarating, but it's also scary at the same time. I don't know if that was really helpful. I did it really quickly. And that's it for today. Sorry about the lot of non-drone stuff, but I hope you enjoyed that. Take care, floss, and I will have more for you next week. I have a couple of things coming up that are really interesting. I'm just waiting for things to be delivered.